Hi, and welcome to the second episode of Our Connected Future. I'm your host, Max Peacock, and in this episode I'm joined by Harry Sharma, the director of Carleton University's brand new Innovation Hub. In our conversation, we discuss the ambitions of the Innovation Hub, the role of technology in entrepreneurship, and what social innovation looks like in this new digital age. There are plenty of ways for Carleton students to get involved with the Innovation Hub, so if this sounds interesting to you, stay tuned. This podcast series is a part of a larger overarching project called the BMPD Storytellers project, which includes a growing variety of works from other students in the program. To check out the works of other BMPD storytellers, you can visit our website and socials, which are linked down below. This is your host, Max Peacock, and you're listening to episode 2 of Our Connected Future, featuring Harry Sharma. Thanks for tuning in, and enjoy. Harry, thanks for being here today. I'm really looking forward to chatting with you about Carleton's new Innovation Hub and the future of entrepreneurship and what that might look like.
Thank you, Max, so much. It's a pleasure to be on your podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. No worries. So Carleton recently announced its new Innovation Hub, and you're its director. Could you tell me more about this? How did the Innovation Hub get started, and what are its goals?
Well, the Innovation Hub really starts with the leadership at the university, who are very, very aware of the fact that the future of the Canadian economy, the future of the global economy is very much entrepreneurship driven. When we say entrepreneurship, it doesn't necessarily mean everybody starting their own company. But what it does mean is we need a workforce that is much that is very well rounded in terms of not only do they excel in their technical skills that they have, but also they have the business acumen and the leadership qualities and the communication skills that are required for the future workforce of tomorrow. So the Innovation Hub is the university's sort of answer to delivering those very much required skills and competencies for the future workforce of tomorrow.
On your website, you list emerging technologies, social innovation, and inclusive entrepreneurship as your top 3 priorities. Could you walk me through how the Innovation Hub approaches each one of these 3?
For sure, absolutely. So part of the programming that we've instituted to respond to what I was saying earlier about making sure that Carleton students have access to the skills and competencies for the future workforce of tomorrow are a series of dedicated programs. So one of them is called a Global Changemaker Program. That's where we bring United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, all of them, and we invite students to say, okay, if there is any one particular or a combination of these development goals that resonate with you, come and participate. And then find meaningful action items that you can take to actually make an impact around those development goals. As you know, UN SDGs are very, very, they're global in nature. So emerging technologies and their impact on the global population, whether you're in a developed country or an emerging economy country, technology will continue to have an impact on the global population. So we want to look at it from that perspective. What does it mean for the Canadian workforce to look at AI, for example, as a technology that will be adopted by the industrial sector, by different industries in Canada? So how do we prepare a workforce that's ready to work with AI and its related opportunities that come by? So one of the programs, so the Changemaker program, was to expose students to the opportunities, but then we do have a dedicated incubator program. It's a semester-long program, and it takes students and participating ventures through the different kind of stages of entrepreneurship, but also through the different types of learnings that they need to meaningfully work with AI and develop solutions and services that will actually provide value to the end consumer and revenues to the companies that are going through our programs. So one of the ways we do that around emerging technologies is by building in components of the incubation program that are tailor-made towards upcoming technologies and how can businesses and our students adopt those technologies to deliver products and solutions that are going to be the next, I would say Teslas of the world or the Facebooks of the world, right? So that's kind of what that is. And when it comes to inclusive entrepreneurship, what we're really trying to address there is the diversity of entrepreneurs, but also diversity of ventures that can be created. So we're targeting and developing very, very customized programming for entrepreneurs who come from traditionally underserved communities. So LGBTQ, 2S+ community, indigenous entrepreneurs, Black entrepreneurs, and women entrepreneurs. As you know, they haven't had the type of support that you would expect for a country like Canada to offer to its entrepreneurs and budding entrepreneurs. So part of the mechanisms that we're creating for entrepreneurs to get engaged with us, we're paying special attention to their unique circumstances and how do we make sure that the incubator programs or even the Changemaker program that I talked about, it remains as easily accessible to traditionally underserved communities as we can make it. So that's kind of the idea around making the Innovation Hub really focus around inclusive entrepreneurship. The other side of the coin of the inclusive entrepreneurship is the diversity of ventures that we're launching. So we talked about the diversity of entrepreneurs, but not every entrepreneur wants to have a for-profit technology-based business. Some are very dedicated and passionate about finding a social calling. They want to focus on a social issue that resonates with them. Again, that's where our incubator programs would have a dedicated separate stream that's running parallel to the for-profit stream, where the not-for-profit or the social entrepreneurship stream will actually focus on entrepreneurs who are interested in creating a social enterprise. And this could be to address issues like food insecurity or education for all, or how to better serve indigenous and remote communities. So those are all types of different sort of diversity of ventures that we want to address. So that's kind of where the inclusive entrepreneurship theme is based out of. It's really very well integrated within the overall programming of the Innovation Hub. And the last one that you mentioned, the last theme that we have, it is around indigenous businesses. And the reason we have a separate and a dedicated theme around that is because we want to make sure that indigenous businesses can continue to thrive using the traditional indigenous cultural learnings and traditions. So we're not necessarily forcing those indigenous businesses from their communities away into the Innovation Hub. But we're going to be partnering with those communities to actually make sure that their businesses have the resources and the networks globally that they need to thrive. So that's kind of what the three major themes are and how we're going to be implementing them through various programs, various activities, and various partnerships that we're developing.
That's absolutely fantastic. You already kind of mentioned it in your answer with the innovation challenges that you guys are doing with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. So while innovation and entrepreneurship can also be a method for amassing capital or going ahead and just starting your own company, it can also be a method for societal change and aid in the development of solutions. I feel like we live in a time where the human species just faces so many existential risks and problems that we have to overcome in the coming decades. And as outlined in the UN Sustainable Development Goals, In your view, what do you think the role is of the innovator and young entrepreneur in trying to solve these problems and make better change for the world?
Max, you're spot on, right? And to my earlier comment, the Innovation Hub very much will support entrepreneurs who are interested in launching for-profit businesses. But at the same time, we are very mindful that the world is at a crossroads right now. If some bold actions are not sort of do not become part of the culture and everyday life that we live, we're not going to be able to address those issues. And that's why the innovation challenge, the change maker program that we have, it is so crucial, because not only does it provide exposure to students to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, but it also allows them an opportunity to understand the nuances of those goals. So, for example, let's take climate change. I know a lot of students are rightly passionate about doing something around climate change, but then how do you really understand the nuances of what happens when you make a change in that, right? So, for example, we could shut down the whole transportation system tomorrow across the world, and that would, bring us somewhat closer to the carbon emission reduction targets that we have globally. However, it's going to have devastating impacts on millions and hundreds of millions of workers, right? So if you're going to change one part of the equation of the current system, then you're bound to impact other parts of the system negatively, or positively. But students need to understand what those different parts are, how they are interconnected, and how they can actually develop solutions that would, have the least amount of negative impact on those solutions with those solutions. So that's where the Change Maker program really comes in. The first few weeks of the Change Maker program is all around issue identification, issue space understanding. So whatever issue you're trying to understand, how is that issue situated in the grand scheme of things? What are some of the adjacent sort of ripple effects that you are bound to face if you're going to make an impact on it? And then the latter half of the Change Maker program gives you the leadership coaching and mentoring that students need to really then create coalitions of other partners with them to address that issue. So we're trying to give them, at least through the Change Maker program, a better understanding of the issue space that they're trying to address, plus the leadership and the partnership capabilities and the networks that they need to actually then have an impact. So yeah, part of the Innovation Hub is to make sure that we're giving students an opportunity to learn and then experience and expand. So that's kind of the big three phases of our programming, and I believe this is a good start for us to engage with the student community.
And I feel like with that in mind, I feel like that makes a university campus such a prime place to start an initiative like that. In your view, what do you think makes the next generations of entrepreneurs so different? When you look at Gen Z, we're starting to become of age where we can start our own businesses and have our own startups and initiatives. It must in some sense feel like you're kind of trying to uplift and cultivate the next generation of entrepreneurs. What's that like for you? What do you think the next era of entrepreneurship is going to look like? What makes us different in your mind?
I think I am Max. I am honestly so hopeful when I see the next generation coming and working with us. The Gen Zs are emphatic. They care about the world around them. They care about businesses, being there for good and helping communities. I think just a very sort of and then some might see it negatively, but I do like the ideological sort of goodness that comes in the next generation of entrepreneurs. So we want to be able to support those ambitions, those ideological leanings towards doing the right thing for everybody, and it just excites me, and part of the reason why I came back the university to sort of spearhead the innovation hub is precisely because of that. In my previous role and in other roles that I've had, I was fortunate enough to work on the policy side and on the strategy side of what can be done. But there was a piece of me that always knew that to actually action any of the broad strategies and global goals that we were developing were young entrepreneurs who are ready to go. They are passionate. They are, they've got tons of empathy and they want to make something happen. And that's what the Innovation Hub is all there for. As I mentioned in my previous comment, we want to make sure that students have an opportunity to learn about the global issues, understand the nuances, find their own niche, which resonates with their value system, and then learn the leadership skills that they need to make that, take those solutions forward and have an impact. So I am really excited. And I think this is a really, this is the right time to be supporting the next generation of entrepreneurs. As we said earlier, we're really at a crossroad when it comes to the global health of the planet and of the population. And if we can get the right entrepreneurs out there with the support they need and allow them to launch and implement their visions, I think we can still make quite a difference. And I remain very optimistic that we will beat the sort of the more pessimistic scenarios that scientists have started to put, just because of the the ingenuity and the innovation of the next generation of entrepreneurs.
I think we share that optimism and hopefulness. I think it's almost necessary to have that kind of attitude when it comes to really overcoming such huge challenges. I think also as we develop tools, you mentioned AI and other emerging technologies that are coming out, I think it also takes a certain amount of responsibility and good intention with the way that we use them to actually use these tools for good as they become so huge in scale with their ability. What do you think the role of technology is in entrepreneurship? I mean, over the pandemic, we saw a huge shift in the way that businesses operate. How do you think business will be different in the future? And are there any technologies in specific that you're keeping an eye on?
Absolutely. I mean, just to kind of address your first point there, I think technology will be a key enabler of everything that we do. I often like to say societal challenges can be overcome with technologies, and technological challenges can be overcome with social solutions, right? So I think the two go hand in hand. And what technology allows us to do, and this has been true historically, is to really be more efficient and more effective in whatever we're trying to do, right? For example, you look at automotives, a car. It's not that humans were not, traveling before the cars were invented. It just allowed us to get from point A to point B much faster, and enjoy the ride while we were at it. The next generation of technologies are coming. For example, clean technologies will allow us to kind of, get from point A to point B faster in a much more cleaner way, saving the planet and creating more jobs. You look at AI. I know there are a lot of concerns around AI, and some of them are very, very legitimate in terms of the data biases and sort of the impact on workers that it's going to have. But I do think if we were to put in the right support mechanisms, AI can be a force for good. It can really help us identify issues well before they become problems. So I think technology is always a key enabler, but historically and through some sad historical events, we also know technology is only as good as humans treat it to be. Technologies in the past have been used for the worst possible outcomes that you can think of. So we want to make sure, again, to your question earlier, next generation of entrepreneurs and the next generation of citizens are going to be a lot more aware of the opportunities that these technologies represent, and they will be better consumers, they'll be better technologists, they'll be better entrepreneurs, and we will make sure that that the innovation hub at Carleton is playing a role in creating that culture, so that when our students become future consumers, they know the right questions to ask. We know through the Innovation Hub, we're going to be creating new entrepreneurs who know how to use the technology in a way that's good for the planet, that's good for humans, and that's good for all, life on this planet. So that's kind of what the focus really is through the Innovation Hub, is to make sure that technologies are seen and understood in ways and the potential that they have to do good, as opposed to being abused for malicious purposes.
Absolutely. I think that's super important. You mentioned technology as an enabler. And I mean, one thing we've learned for sure in the Bachelor of Media Production and Design program is how technology can be used to tell a story, and just how important storytelling is to the communication of, well, something as simple as a new, or something like a new initiative or an idea. What do you think the role of storytelling is in entrepreneurship? How do you take an idea and bring it to life and share it with an audience? And what value does that hold when you're trying to start a movement in a business?
That's such a good question, Max. Honestly, I'm of the view that without proper communications and without proper storytelling, uh, you can't really achieve your goals. Period. Everything that we do involves others, people, external, internal stakeholders, and storytelling is. Uh, I know I call technologies a key enabler, but storytelling is even a more critical enabler to to completing a task or completing a project or implementing a vision or starting a company. Without storytelling, you might as well not be doing anything, right? So that's why we're launching a dedicated program around creative and cultural industries, where we're going to bring together technologists, students from arts and social sciences, students from faculty of public affairs, and engineering faculty, and get them to develop new ways of storytelling and putting entrepreneurship around it. So one of the projects we're working on is to look at how streaming, whether it's podcast, streaming or territorial streaming, how we can build entrepreneurs who are creating the next business models around ensuring that entrepreneurs have incentives. So these would be cultural entrepreneurs, right? So podcasters, musicians, local citizen journalists. How do we make sure that they have incentives to roll out new businesses? And that's where the role of some of the cryptocurrencies could be considered, where can we create localized, hyper localized currencies where businesses and new entrepreneurs can leverage the currencies, and the listeners and the consumers of that local storytelling can actually compensate those local storytellers. I think we're yet to scratch the surface on the possibilities of bringing the two together, storytelling plus some of the blockchain technologies, to really create entrepreneurial pathways for storytellers to continue to remain motivated and continue to have that invisible hand of capitalism move that forward, and at the same time be good for the planet. So that's kind of what my take is. I think storytelling is important, and we've made it a mission at the Innovation Hub to ensure that we continue to empower the next generation of storytellers through exciting business models, exciting technological solutions that they can actually grow and launch and benefit the society with.
I think that's an absolutely beautiful vision, and one that I hope to see pan out, and I'm very optimistic will in the
Well, I hope
decades.
you get to be one of the participants of this program.
I hope so too.
Feel free to reach out after this. Yes.
Absolutely. My last question for you, Harry, is if there were an aspiring entrepreneur listening to this podcast out there, if you could only give them one piece or two pieces of advice, or just generally advice, what would you leave them with today?
I would say if you're a student or you're a community member external to the Carleton student community, we are here to help you achieve your vision and help you plan what your specific tangible next steps might be for you to achieve that vision. Innovation Hub, yes, we support entrepreneurs, people who are actually starting a venture, but we are also here to support you just so that you better understand and you have an opportunity to get engaged with issues that are closest to your heart, that are closest to your value system. So if you have a big idea, if you see something around you that's not right and you want to make it right, come talk to the Innovation Hub. We will make sure that we put you in the right program. We will make sure that we work with you. We assign credible, incredible and credible coaches and mentors who can actually work with you to help you achieve your vision. So yeah, that's who we are, carleton.ca/innovation hub. Fairly easy to remember. Tons of new information on there, tons of ways to get in touch with us. I think, Max, we're on, and I don't really know all the social media channels that our team operates, but I think we're on all major social media channels as well. So follow us, subscribe to us, or come talk to us one-on-one. Happy to get in touch with you.
Fantastic, Harry. It's been a pleasure to speak with you today. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Max. This was fun. Let's do it again soon.
Awesome. Thanks for tuning in to the second episode of Our Connected Future. For updates on this podcast and the other BMPD storytelling projects, please visit our website and social links down below. This is your host, Max Peacock, and you'll hear from me again in the next episode of Our Connected Future. Cheers.